Rose Design, a holistic interior design studio focused on you uncovering your deeper self and expressing that in your space. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today I'm going to go over design styles and what that may mean for you if you're just starting out on your own design adventure. I'm going to go over about 10 common popular design styles for right now in 2020, you can expect to see across the board with those design styles, and finally why you shouldn't just find your design style and stick with it. So let's get started. So what even is a design style? So design styles are amalgamations of interior decor that kind of fits a certain vibe or theme. So you can expect across the board to see similar furniture pieces, similar colors, similar times from which you get those furnitures even. Like furniture can be themed by design era even for certain styles. It's often where people start in their design journey because it's what the internet gives you as the easiest entry point into trying to figure out what design style you even are. So things like Pinterest and Instagram are constantly tagging themselves along design styles so that people who are interested in certain aspects of design can see and find more of those things. So if you're on Pinterest and looking for inspiration for your next space, a design style search is something really good to start with, but definitely not good to end with. So we're gonna start here, and then these next couple of videos I'm gonna post are gonna be explaining why you should continue your exploration along these lines. So don't worry, I'm gonna be posting some photos of these, so when you hear me explain these design styles, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Designers have their own language. I don't know if you've noticed. We think very highly of ourselves, and so some words come out weird and only have meaning to someone who's like been around the stuff for as long as we all have. So I want to kind of bring it back down to a human level for you guys and not scare you with any words that are weird, you know? So I'm going to make sure and give you some visual aids so that you can cross-reference what's coming out of my mouth to what you can expect to see. So the first design style we're going to go over is minimalism. So you guys have probably seen a lot of this lately. People have realized that we were being inundated with a lot of ads telling us what we need in our lives to be better people all of the time, and a lot of people have started to rebel against that and realize, like, I just need space to think. Like, I wake up in the morning, go to a job, get told what to do. I come home, I don't want to come home to a bunch of stuff all over the place. So minimalism is a kind of reaction to that on a deeper level. What you can expect to see physically in these spaces is very sparse decor, often not a lot of color. So you're gonna see either some contrast within black and white or not a lot of contrast at all, and more very soft neutrals and a lot of white in general. That's kind of the color palette of minimalism mostly. And then in regards to furniture, there's a lot of wood and natural elements, some plants, but again, when you walk into a minimalist space, it's very clean. The surfaces are clean. There's nothing extra on the surfaces that isn't very intentionally put there. You really won't see a lot of extra decor elements in general, just things that work for the space and are pretty to the person, and that's it. It's kind of a softer version of utilitarianism. So I'm going to throw some photos up here to show you what I mean by that. my next design style I'm going to go over is modern farmhouse. So this one exploded onto the scene fairly recently, I guess not super recently. Very popular with everyone. It's kind of a good mix between some things. Like, it's a softer way to be more traditional. It's honestly kind of minimal in a way, but the elements tend to be very much salt of the earth, lots of wood, kind of rustic in how it shows up. Also, modern farmhouse likes to bring in old elements that actually show their age, so not necessarily antiques that are like fancy, you know? It's a little more like a big rusted out lampshade in your kitchen. You'll see a lot of things like subway tile and a lot of wood. Earthy colors. I see a lot of green often. Not a lot of bright primary colors often. It's just kind of softer. It just kind of gives you the feeling of, oh, this is home. But be warned with this, you can really get themey. Like, if you just tell your designer, I like modern farmhouse, your home theme could get away from you. You know, it's with any of these design styles, I recommend not stamping yourself with like, this is what I am and this is what I like and I'm not going to look at anything else and you can just give me this and I'll be happy, because your home won't end up feeling like you. So I'm going to throw some modern farmhouse images down below. Feel free to comment on any of these. Like, if you feel like I've missed any major elements that you see in these design styles across the board, let me know. The next one I want to talk about is transitional. So this is a little more difficult to pin down. It kind of encompasses a lot of things that we see now in design in general, where there's this feeling of you want to feel modern, but you don't want to lose the comfort of styles like traditional, and you just like the softness of feeling at home. So it's gonna transitional is kind of gonna blend the best of traditional spaces, like nice fabrics, some pattern, but it's going to keep it modern and open. So instead of seeing a big floral somewhere in a transitional space, you're going to see lots of fabric, but it's going to be more of a geometric pattern or something open and cleaner in general. And then in regards to the furniture lines, you're going to see, instead of having like a roll arm sofa in a traditional space, in a transitional space, they're gonna have a track arm, but it's still gonna look comfortable. Color palette for these, again, a lot of white on the walls, but they don't shy away from contrast, so you'll see some dark gray or some black injected in there to bring that contrast punch. So it's kind of basic. You're gonna see a lot of this and maybe not know what to call it. So I'm gonna add a lot of images below here to try and outline what transitional means in the design world. And if you're into that, you can search more images. So one design style I don't think I went over explicitly in my interior design soul styles guide, which I'll link below, is just traditional. So traditional is what you would probably think of as your grandma's house or granny style in general. That's what people tend to like say and joke about it, but it can be very classic and beautiful, and I've seen a lot of like really big sized florals on huge upholstered furniture lately, and also wallpaper floor to ceiling. When you pick and choose these elements, it can really be a beautifully impactful space, just like any of these. So traditional, you're going to see a lot of overstuffed furniture and large scale furniture. So where modern is a little bit lower slung and mid-century modern is a little lower slung and slighter in scale, traditional is all about comfort. It's just about, this is home, flop on the couch, it's overstuffed, it's in a pattern because why not? You're going to see a lot of fabric in traditional spaces, and a lot of the woods are going to be in more darker finishes. So yes, carpet too. Just think cozy and classic and leaning towards fancy a little bit. Traditional wants to feel as though it's fancy. So I'm going to throw a couple images of traditional below, and let me know what you think. This design style is kind of fun and exciting. It's always been around, but it's emerging as its own thing now in juxtaposition to everything else that's out there. It's European modern. So I would say that's where a lot of furniture and decor is leaning currently if you look out in the marketplace. It's characterized by soft, undulating, more rounder lines in furniture, and also not shying away from putting like shearling on a chair. It's very bold, but the color choices still are soft. There's a lot of white, there's a lot of neutrals and putty colors. The emphasis is on texture, so there's a lot of mix of texture. You're gonna see a really thickly woven rug juxtaposed with that shearling chair, and like 10 different fabrics on the same color pillow, if that makes sense. So modern. Again, modern, kind of like transitional, it's a little hard to nail down. Modern is clean lines, very clean. Like everything kind of where European modern has soft lines, soft and rounded forms. Modern is more rectilinear in style. You're gonna see a very low slung sofa with straight lines, and it's very straightforward in general. Modern now in 2020 doesn't really include a lot of color either, honestly. You're gonna see a lot of gray, a lot of tonal, tone on tone. You're not gonna see a lot of warm colors, really. It tends to go a little bit cooler, but cooler neutrals, if that makes sense. If you think about like Restoration Hardware's catalog, that's the feel I'm trying to describe here a little bit. Men tend to gravitate towards this style for me because it's just straightforward. There's no fluff to it. There's no extra design elements. There's no handmade feeling really in pure modern design. It's very much lends itself to like classic Italian design, where it's clean and sleek and straightforward and solid feeling, and it, when done right, it can feel expensive for sure. I'm going to throw some images of what modern means to me below so you can check it out. So let's go over bohemian and eclectic as a design style. So I put these two together because oftentimes you're going to see a little bit of overlap between these two. But let's start with bohemian specifically. You're going to see a lot of textures and a lot of pattern. and often a lot of warm colors too, for some reason. Bohemian likes to feel collected over time, and if a free spirit was a design style, it would be bohemian. You're kind of open, a little nod to the hippie era, a lot of woven woods. You'll see a lot of woven furniture, and I'm seeing a lot of this in the marketplace right now. Like, no matter what design style you're going towards in general, like there's a lot of woven woods as an extra textured element, which is fun. You're gonna see macrame and handmade pieces a lot, and crafted pieces like embroidery and things that feel as though an artisan made them. So that's bohemian directly. And then eclectic, again, is collected over time for sure. It's a bit more freeform. You're gonna see a lot of different colors, not necessarily just warm colors. A lot of different patterns in your fabrics, a lot of mixed materials. It doesn't really follow a lot of any rules in particular, other than the fact that it looks collected over time, and there's gonna be a lot of antique elements, where bohemian feels a little younger, which means nothing. Like, you can be attracted to bohemian no matter what age you are, obviously, but eclectic leans a little bit more towards fancier antique elements. So you'll see a change in what found pieces get pulled into those two different styles. But again, there's a lot of overlap. So I'm gonna throw up some photos of both of these, so you can compare and contrast and see what you like. Let's talk about Scandinavian and hygge. So kind of like bohemian and eclectic styles. I kind of put them together because they tend to feed off of one another, but there's some different elements to both. So Scandinavian is typically what you think of when you think of IKEA. I know people are gonna get upset with me about saying that, because it's not just that. It's just the easiest way for me to bridge the gap between someone who's just starting out with these things and someone who's familiar with them. So think of really clean lines, maybe some primary colors, but mostly black and white and light wood. They don't really use dark wood finishes that often. It tends to be a little cold. There's not a lot of fabric in Scandinavian in particular, and there's an edge of utilitarianism where it's like, this is a lamp. You know, there's not a lot of extra fluffy elements to it. It's just, we need a lamp, and there's a lamp, and it's not a weird color, and it's not a weird shape, and yeah, we're good. So that's Scandinavian to me a little bit. I'm going to show you images of that so you can connect the dots there. And then hygge is interesting to me because, kind of like minimalism in the United States, just in particular, I feel like hygge is kind of a reaction to the cold and harshness of Scandinavian. So hygge focuses, it's more of a lifestyle, but it has transitioned into a design style for people where you have a Scandinavianly designed space, but you inject elements of really comfortable things. Like when you look at a hugely knit, chunky blanket, that juxtaposed with clean lined, light wood, lots of white, can really up the comfy factor of a purely Scandinavian space. They just focus on feeling good in general. So there's a lot of candles, a lot of beautiful textures that you want to touch and feel. a lot more fabric, furniture that you sink into. And it just kind of softens those hard lines of Scandinavian in general. So if you like the way that Scandinavian looks, but you don't feel like it's comfortable enough for you, start looking into the hygge element and see if you can juxtapose those two things and make it work more for you. So contemporary. Contemporary is a design style that's a little bit older now, speaking in 2020. It's kind of characterized by some punchy primary colors and also dark wood and some clean lines in general. Like contemporary spaces often have like a whole set of furniture that matches each other, for example. And everything feels a little bit like you're in a hotel, where everything goes together. Nothing's super loud, and yeah, it's pretty clean. It's a little bit funkier lines than pure modern design style is, and yeah, everything just kind of has its place and goes together. It's kind of as if you took a page out of a catalog and was like, I like all this, and just went with it. It doesn't really push the envelope in any way. It doesn't leave a lot of room for expressing yourself. I'm going to add some pictures below to try and illustrate what this means to me in general. Mid-century modern. This is very different from modern. It harkens back to an era where in the 60s there were design houses really deep diving into furniture design. So a lot of furniture coming out from that era is very distinct in style and wood finishes. The chair I'm sitting in right now is an actual real mid-century piece. In regards to this style in particular, if you go whole head into this, it can look a little themey, and it might not actually represent who you are as a person if you go completely into this. But anyways, mid-century modern furniture's kind of, it's very distinct. You know it when you look at it, but it's also characterized by warmer woods and thin legs on furniture and lower slung things in general. Like all of the furniture doesn't really breach your eye line. Like everything kind of stays in the lower horizon with mid-century modern. Mid-century modern is also characterized by some like funky modernist patterns where it feels a little trippy, but is really clean and geometric still. And so that juxtaposed with very specifically designed furniture gives you mid-century modern. It's another one that my male clients tend to gravitate to. I try and keep it to a minimum and mix pieces within another style, because you don't want to end up looking like men in here. So I'm going to add some photos of this below for you guys. And the last one I'm going to go over is industrial. So in an industrial space, you're going to see a lot of exposed structure, whether that's the exposed beams of a ceiling or all of the duct work and electrical work and wiring. In an industrial space, people may choose to expose that and use that as a design element. You're going to see a lot of concrete and hard surfaces. So you're never really going to see a carpeted room in an industrial space. From concrete to all hardwood floor, that's what's going to happen. And then you're going to have rugs throughout that space. It tends to feel a little warehousey, which can be cool. But I recommend trying to soften it up somehow. Like, you don't want to go ever in one direction only. It doesn't speak to who you are as a person often. And it's just not good to only have one energy in your space, in my opinion. So yeah, industrial, hard lines, lots of metal for sure, and lots of stone pieces. And when you do have upholstered furniture, it's often leather and it's often distressed, I've noticed. Like, it never feels like, oh, I just bought this from wherever. It feels like I collected this from the dumpster around the corner, which can be cool for sure, but whatever, take it for what you will. So I'm gonna add some industrial images below, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. So I totally forgot to mention my free PDF interior design soul styles guide. In there is more bullet points of kind of what I went over in this video, if you guys want to just see that in black and white. I kind of have a process where I want you to react to these things on your own, you know, and get that down on paper, like, and write it down for yourself and be like, you know, why am I reacting to the white? Do I like that? Do I only like that because that's what everyone says I should like right now? All of those things end up informing your design aesthetic. So check that free PDF out below. My next video is going to be completely on how to figure out what your design aesthetic is and why that's more important than figuring out what your design style is. So yeah, those are 10 design styles that I see come up most often in my conversations with my clients, and what I see out in the world today. So I just wanted to do a little disclaimer on design styles now that I got you to watch this whole video. As a designer myself, I've been working in the industry for 10 years. I think it's really important to focus on who you actually are. So it's a little frustrating working within design styles because someone who's new to design, that's what you guys have access to, you know, like that's what you guys see on Instagram and Pinterest, and what you guys can easily show me as your designer of like where you think you might fit in, you know. So I totally get starting with design styles because it's the easiest way the internet has to like explain something to someone, you know. But there's a whole wide world past this concept of design styles. I'm gonna do my next video on what a design aesthetic is and why that's more important than figuring out what design styles you fit into. And to me, it's more important because you don't fit into a box. You're a human being, and you bring so much more life and interest than something that people have created a box around and called a style, you know. And there's no right answer in this stuff. I think this entire industry, a lot like the makeup industry, for a long time has shown you that there's one way to be and there's one way to show up, and that's the correct way right now. And it's just a constantly evolving and changing world. And I don't want any of my clients or anyone who comes in contact with me to think that they need to figure out what that perfect design style is and implement that in their house so that they can like be accepted in this world. Like, I, as your designer, want you to bring who you are to the table so that I can draw inspiration from that, which is way cooler than shoving you into a design styles box. I kind of refuse to do it. So where you figure out what your design style is by looking at these images below and listening to how I explain them. Beautiful place to start, and I'm really excited for you to start opening up your eyes to this whole big wide world. But understand that you're the one that has the answers. There are no rules in this stuff. As much as the world wants to tell you that there's rules, there really isn't. And you are the only one that can make a beautiful space for yourself. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If I missed anything, which I'm sure I did because I just rambled on, let me know if you've seen things in these styles that are really important to you, what design styles you identify with and how you break those rules, more importantly. And stay tuned. If you like these videos, please subscribe or reach out to me. I'm always interested in hearing how you guys' design adventures are going. So yeah, if you're interested in any more of this information, I have a blog at catherinerosedesign.com. Check it out, reach out. I'm always here. Thanks for watching.